So before I start this video, I want to make sure that people understand I'm not a doctor, I'm not a chiropractor, I'm not a nurse practitioner, I'm not a registered nurse, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a medical professional by any stretch of the imagination. And as such, I would appreciate it if you not take anything in this video as medical advice. I am not qualified to give medical advice, and that's that. So essentially, what I wanted to do a video on was peanuts. Now, I took peanuts out of my diet due to the fact that I had assumed that I might be sensitive to peanuts. And I recently added them back in after about a year and a half of not eating peanuts to see if I was, if it would make a difference. And it seemed to, but adding them back in hasn't really made a difference either. And peanuts are a very healthful source of nutrition. They're a healthful source of monounsaturated fats. And I do plan on doing a video on omega-6 fatty acids, the superfood you've been led to believe was deleterious to your health, because there's a lot of misinformation about omega-6 fatty acids, and a lot of it about how they're poisonous, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of that misinformation has been spread by somebody that I respect quite a bit, and that's Dr. Barry Sears. But omega-6 fatty acids are not poisonous, okay? Especially dietary omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 fatty acids are an essential fatty acid, and new research has shown them to be beneficial to the health. But this is not about omega-6 fatty acids, because peanuts are predominantly a source of monounsaturated fatty acid. Okay, so peanuts have been shown to reduce the risk of heart disease. They've been shown to reduce the risk of cancer, and they are a source of protein. However, if you're eating peanuts, you probably should not think of peanuts as a source of protein. Peanuts are in my opinion, they're a source of fat first and a source of protein second. But what is interesting, if you're on a vegan diet, like I'm on a vegan diet, a lot of the food sources that you're consuming, they're not... On an omnivorous diet, you have dedicated protein sources, okay? And you do on a vegan diet too. You have dedicated protein sources that you eat for protein. However, on a vegan diet, and this is why I had discovered that I had to add more concentrated forms of protein powders, soy-based meat products, things of that nature. But you don't really need to. But for me, I have to, because I am more active than the average vegan. Most vegans tend not to be the most active types, and most vegans don't stick with veganism for very long. I'm a lifer. I plan on doing this for the rest of my life. So I plan on being 100% plant-based for the rest of my life. So in order to do that, I have to find ways that will allow me to retain my activity level and retain my health and consume, foods that are healthful. And for me, that did involve concentrated protein sources. It's interesting to note that one of the first concentrated protein sources was created by Dr. John Harvey Kellogg out of peanuts, and I think it was called Protease, or Protease, something like that. I'll put a link in the description. But the thing is, peanuts are a source of protein, and as I was saying, on a vegan diet, you don't have dedicated sources of protein per se. For example, tofu. Tofu is a healthy fat source, and on top of being a healthy fat source, it's also a tofu is definitely a protein source due to the high amounts of protein, but it's also high in monounsaturated fatty acids and has some omega-3 fatty acids, which are also, like omega-6s, they're an essential fatty acid. You can't make them, you can't manufacture them, so you got to get them from food. And then on top of that, you have beans, regular beans, legumes. Legumes, generally speaking, they're a very balanced food. Now, their amino acids are not perfectly balanced, so you need to eat whole grains like rice, like brown rice or buckwheat or oats or something like that with your beans. But the thing with beans is they're not just a protein source, they're a source of complex carbohydrates, and they're a source of fiber. Soluble and insoluble fiber. which is important to gut health and heart health. And I think this is one of the reasons that when you see people eating plant-based protein diets, you see their health improve. And the reason why is not because necessarily they're eating plant-based protein, but because they're not eating these outrageously high amounts of saturated fats and these outrageously high amounts of unhealthful fats and, you know, stuff that comes with the protein, like the charred meat and all that good stuff, and stuff that's just not very good for you, okay? And that's what I think is one of the things that you have to keep in mind is see, the thing is with a plant-based protein, whether it's beans or whole grains or peanuts or pumpkin seeds or what have you, there are additional health benefits that come with consuming these foods. And these foods do tend to be higher in calories, and this is why vegans should tend to be higher in activity. And I do plan on making a video about going all in on an Adventist lifestyle. And I do eat dark chocolate for the phytonutrients in the dark chocolate because it's shown to be healthful to the heart and healthful to the skin. It helps retard the aging of the skin. And the other benefits of of chocolate, they can't be matched by anything else. Now, carob, I can't stomach carob. I have tried very hard to like carob, okay? And people that don't know what carob is, now I've had some like carob peanut butter cups and things like that were pretty good. But the problem is with carob, it just doesn't taste. And that was back when I was a vegetarian. As a vegan, you can't do that because a lot of the times that carob does taste good, it's in a milk carob. Like you heard of milk chocolate, it's milk carob. It's done like a chocolate bar or something like that. And it does taste quite good like that, but it's also got outrageously high amounts of sugar and milk fat and stuff like that. And it's not vegan anymore. But carob, and not being vegan, it also defeats the purpose because, again, remember, the milk proteins bind to the antioxidants and the phytonutrients in the carob, which will make it less effective at helping you. So the thing is, I've fully embraced a completely Adventist lifestyle except for the dark chocolate and the cocoa powder. But in order to do that, I have had to implement the use of certain coffee substitutes. Instead of decaf coffee, I use a certain coffee substitute, which I will mention in another video. But ultimately, what you have to understand with peanuts is peanuts are a very affordable source of healthy fats, a sort of a good source of protein, especially if you're eating them with other foods, okay? They're a good source of protein, and they basically have been shown to promote heart health and to reduce cancer risk, and they should be consumed by people that aren't allergic to them. And a lot of people like to point out how people can be allergic to soy and all this other stuff. People can be allergic to basically anything. And again, remember, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm not a medical professional, but people can be. I had a friend that was allergic to bleach. He couldn't smell bleach, or he'd go into anaphylaxis and start shaking and everything else. He was allergic to a lot of stuff, allergic to steroids, like corticosteroids. He was allergic to a lot of things, actually. But the thing is, people can be allergic to anything, including beef, including pork, including chicken, including fish, including shellfish, including milk, including bee products like honey. So there are people that are allergic to pretty much, that you can be allergic to pretty much anything, including soy. Soy happens to be a highly allergenic food, I think, because it's a highly consumed food throughout the world. It's in a lot of refined foods, and it's in and throughout Asia, a lot of people consume soy, but also the longest lived people in the world consume soy, like the Okinawans and the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California. So how I see the peanut is, I see the peanut as more or less a sort of an American version of the soybean. Now, America produces a lot of soybeans now, so I can't say that, but it has similar benefits, although it's higher in fat to protein ratio. But I do see the peanut to be somewhat of an American version of the soybean. And of course the peanut comes originally from the Andean civilizations, such as in Peru, the Proto-Incan civilizations and things like that. I've always been fascinated by Incan culture and, well, all Andean and Mesoamerican culture. It's something that, for whatever reason, it just seems to fascinate me. And I've always liked learning about Andean and Mesoamerican culture, and even other cultures that are pre-Indian and pre-Mesoamerican. And I find it quite interesting. What people don't understand is most of the foods that we eat today in the United States, tomatoes, vanilla, corn, especially corn, has been an amazing product for the U.S. So we have corn, we have pumpkin, we have squash, we have beans. All modern beans besides fava beans are from the Andean civilization originally, and the Mesoamerican civilizations. Corn, as in maize, tomatoes, let me think what else here, avocados, a lot of our tropical fruits, pretty much everything on the table that is fresh produce, aside for cabbage and some of the old world vegetables. Potatoes are a big part of the Andean civilization. Sweet potatoes are African, but my point is that these, and Asian, sweet potatoes are also Asian, but my point is a good chunk of the foodstuffs that we eat in the world today actually come from the ancient Andean civilization and Mesoamerica by way of the Andean civilization. But it's very interesting to me. I've always found that quite interesting. And that's all for this video. I kind of got a little bit off topic, but my point is, peanuts are a heart-healthy food. They are not deleterious to the health unless you're allergic to them or unless you're over-consuming calories. But that doesn't have to be the case. I mean, if you're eating peanuts, you reduce something else. That's how that works. It's kind of like the dark chocolate thing. Dark chocolate is healthy as long as you're not overeating calories because you're eating dark chocolate. And even then, the health benefits are still there. It's just you're overeating calories, so you have to reduce them somewhere else. Probably in the form of refined carbohydrates would be the best place to reduce your caloric intake. And that's all for this video.